I love that. Well, listen, I have to do this little beginning. Hey, welcome to the radio show. This is Drivewire Radio. You got Carter, you got Emily, you got Maria. These guys are on It's Literally Fine. I love that. I love there's so much about it that I like. It's Literally Fine podcast. Two chicks just talking about stuff in Toronto. I think that's kind of what it's like. How do you find topics for your show? Are you just chatting about this happened on the street today, or?
Honestly, Em and I don't stop talking to begin with. Yeah. So for us to find topics, it's literally not a big deal.
It's literally fine.
It's literally fine. So it's not even 10 seconds and I already went in there by accident. But it's one of those things where Em and I will just take what we talk about from our real lives and mold it into a topic. So when we think about what's going on in our lives and we think about what's prevalent in other people's lives, we create, you know what, this is the episode this week. But what we usually do is we plan it from the beginning of the season. Yeah. And we go through and we kind of just go back and forth about things we both want to talk about, things we individually want to talk about. And then next thing you know, we got 30 episodes ready to go.
Yeah, because I think the first season we kind of just did things that were in our lives and just kind of throwing it out there. Let's see what hits with people. People really love dating episodes, shocker kind of thing. But they love when we answer questions about dating, which is so comical to us because we're not really the best ones for advice in that way.
They just ask and you give them the answer.
Yeah, and then for the second season, we kind of added on more episodes and just decided to dig deeper into a lot more topics. This week we have one coming out called about mental health. So we're going a lot deeper in. We're not just focusing on relationship stuff because as much as it's fun to talk about, we want to branch and do other topics as well.
Yeah, that's kick ass. So are you allowing the audience to interact and ask you a ton of questions? Is it live? Are you doing everything live?
No. So it's not live, but we do reach out to our audience on Instagram and be do you guys have any questions? We did an episode last season at the end where we asked the followers for questions they wanted to ask us, and then we kind of answered them as the last, the thanks for the first season, we'll be back for season 2 or whatever. So it kind of just depends on what we're doing, but we're trying to be a lot more interactive. I feel this season.
We are,
and we've really upped our social to be more interactive with the fan base and the audience.
And what we like to do often is Em and I noticed last year that when we did polls and interactive things on our stories, we got a lot of feedback from our viewers and listeners. So for us, we continue to do those, and then we pull what we see our viewers and listeners what they like, and we pull from that, and then that's how we also create a lot of different topics and we interact with them because obviously we're here for them and what they like, we're obviously going to put on more of what they want to listen to. So
that's actually really awesome. I'm gonna take notes from you guys and steal all of everything and just by the way, serious note, if you guys have a podcast, so we're on the radio, it's been really cool to do this show because whenever we've needed answers, we just have that person on the show and ask them the questions we need. And because there's a mic, they'll give you information for free. So we've interviewed lawyers, and I was asking questions that if I needed a lawyer to tell me, I was like, what would you do? And and so then you get the answer and
that's a smart
put
way
them
to
on
do
air.
it.
So it's $0, right?
No, so true.
You get a free lawyer consultation right there.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the media now.
Yeah,
I love that.
No, for sure.
And I believe so Emily's the one doing the PR.
Yeah.
You're doing that full time. That's your day job.
Yes. Yeah. That's
you
my
you like it? You enjoy that?
Yeah, I mean, we went to school for media, right? But we got to put our hands in a lot of different cookie jars in terms of marketing, communication, social media, on-air presentation, kind of everything. We didn't get to touch on PR. However, we did take business courses. So I kind of had a basis a little bit of what I was getting into. I kind of got my PR job as a fluke. I knew that the founder of the company and she was looking for someone. So I've been there a year and 2 months now. But yeah, so I kind of have just been doing that as a 9 to 5. I didn't get to work it during COVID though, because we're a very small based agency. So we don't have enough money personally. That's what.
Wow. So what have you been doing for the last 9 months.
Well, I started back up my PR agency in September. So I've been doing it September to now, but like from April to September, it was just like when everyone was laid off from their jobs, so like what's going on in the world kind of thing. I was just collecting Daddy Trudeau's money. So.
I gotta be honest, I didn't have to, but I thought I was going to. And my full-time job is Windows and home improvement for everyone's home. So home improvement didn't get slowed up. So I'm really lucky like that, but I feel for you 100%. So were you like focused on the show at that point or just like?
Yeah, we were like really dialed in all summer. And like a lot of my days were spent like planning here, literally in this exact spot in my kitchen, just kind of like going over scheduling. Like it wasn't I feel like the podcast wasn't as big as we thought it. Like you know what I mean? Like we went into it kind of like, let's do it for fun and see what happens. And then it really grew fast. And we were like surprised by that, I think. So it turned into a lot more planning, a lot more moving parts so that the second season could just be better and bigger. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And in terms of like doing PR for your full time, obviously like I've found, and we've had a few really, really cool people that we've had on who do PR. Nikki P is in Toronto. She was really cool to talk to. But when I find that someone has a good, like someone who knows how to actually do PR, stuff just takes off fast. So
I think for us too, like it helped with us because at least I knew a little bit about like social media marketing and like kind of like running brand pages because I've been doing that at work. So I like kind of took everything I learned at my job and just like moved it over to the podcast. And I genuinely think that like it really helped us in the end, like benefit like the podcast and like our social.
So I want to throw a question at you and Maria, if you have input, I want your input as well. But if you were like a beginning artist, like I always say on the show, like I can't give you talent. You have to have talent before Drivewire even becomes applicable. But once you put in that effort, there's a huge amount to get to, even having an image, right? Let alone doing plays and shows and whatever you're doing. So for you, in like a few quick ideas, how would you start to set yourself up once you've got the licks or the dance moves or you can do a good painting or drawing? Like once you have the talent and you're trying to bring yourself out, what's your first couple moves?
I think you need to market yourself across all social platforms. I think that's the biggest thing in 2021. Like you can have, like you just said, you can have the talent and like be an amazing singer, amazing guitarist, amazing podcaster. But if you don't have an audience around you, it's just a waste. So like building the audience from the ground up is kind of the first piece, I think, because then you get people listening. You have a page that people can go to if they ever have questions or they want to contact you, whatever. So the social channels, especially like we're utilizing obviously Instagram and TikTok right now and YouTube, but Instagram itself has been huge for us because it's kind of where everyone knows we are on here and here's our link tree to take you elsewhere kind of thing. So I feel like it starts like with marketing yourself as a brand. Like we always consider ourselves a brand. Like we are starting a brand as a podcast together. Our brand is together kind of thing, just like Maria's TFC brand is her brand for TFC. My own personal Instagram is my own personal brand. But as a whole, and the two of us, we are a brand together as a podcast. So we make decisions according to what benefits our brand together.
Sure. I think the other thing is like, you got to be consistent.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to start something, especially at the beginning, consistency is so key because you could go for a week, post whatever you want. But if you don't keep your music or your art or your dancing on social media, it doesn't have to be every day, but every other day, you pick certain days of the week, or you're doing a story or a post here and there, no one's going to notice you if you don't do that. So you got to be consistent.
And I think anyone can take a look at our Instagram right now at this very moment and go back to the first season and kind of see what we were posting. It was very dry, very bland, not a lot of things going on there other than like a couple quotes and like a couple photos. Now we're like full blown, at least once a day, have something on YouTube, on TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram. Like there's something, or a story. Like there's something going on to keep people there. And we've grown our following in 2 months by 400 people.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's big for us because we had 400 total for 6 months of the first season. Right.
That's
so
right.
It's just basically pushing the brand out.
And that, like, I think that even though, someone might hear, 400, like, it's not like that because it's exponential. And the first 400 takes 6 months. And then the second 400, you said took 3 or 4 months. So 2 months. So then the next one's going to be at 1 month and then 2 weeks and then 1 week and then half a week. And that's when it starts to move.
We're also not like huge on like our followers. Like, yeah, we obviously want to grow our following on Instagram, but like our downloads and our views and our episodes are like 3 times the amount of what our followers actually are. Like what we're getting downloads wise and listens and views is like on another level. Yeah. So like obviously that's what we're trying to work towards is getting those follower rates at the same level. But like if you're getting the traction, people are still listening and watching, like I don't want new content people to be like, oh, my Instagram following doesn't reflect that, but it eventually will because people are still listening.
Yeah, and I think too, like, honest to God, I honestly think that people don't follow Instagram pages because they're like, well, I can creep it anytime I want. Marie and I both have it in our bio. They can just click on it and look at it. They don't need to follow us. You know what I mean? So they know that we post on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Like it's very well known. Yeah. We make it known to our own following, which is hers is 5,200, mine's 4,600. Like not a lot. But really, like they just know what we're going to tell them where to go. They don't need to follow us. So like, I kind of understand it in that way. Like people are very concerned about ratios. Like the world of 2021 is so social based and like millennial based. Like everyone's like, I don't want to have a crazy ratio. Be following so many accounts, but have so little following. Like people think about this shit and it's wild. But I always say to Marie, I'm like, it's definitely because people they know where to go. They know we have it on our pages. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is there anything now? Okay, look, I'll be honest. I know a lot of stuff, but also there are areas where I don't know a lot of stuff. And marketing and branding is just one of those where I'm asking genuine questions to learn stuff instead of talking about it like I know it. Aside from optics, like what really goes into a brand aside from making it look good? Consistency was a really good answer.
Yeah.
So that like, did you mean like frequency? Like it should be as often?
It has to be frequent.
Or like a set time.
It's so we do have set times of when we want to post certain things. Like our teaser goes out at the same time every week. Certain posts go out at the same time every week. But we also like to we're even learning as we go as well. Like we've noticed that on some days we don't get as much traction as other days. So then we alter what post do we want people to see a lot more than another one? Let's put that out on a more popular day. Yeah. So using your insights, using all of that, those tools that Instagram and all those different things give you as a way to promote your product or your brand or who you are, even better will actually benefit you. And I think what you're putting out also has to match. Like what Em said, our brand is our brand. So if we're posting something that the colors don't match, or we're both not in it, or what we're saying is not what we want to say, we're not going to post it because it's not our viewers and what we want to put out there for viewers to see or listen to. So it's making sure that everything you have flows, is consistent, and it comes out frequent.
Yeah, and I will say this, like, we'll be completely transparent. Like, we have a social media intern this season who basically we're all in a group chat, and she's the one who posts everything for us. We kind of go back and forth on captions. She needs a credit for school anyways, so it was kind of like the perfect fit. And we know her she's in sport media at Ryerson as well. So she will draft all our captions, we'll review them, edit them, and send them back. And she's responsible for posting. So she's the one actually controlling a lot of the social. Although Marie and I obviously logged in our own phones. If there's a DM that we see that we want to respond to from a guest or something, like someone's asking a question, whoever gets to it first will just answer. But we were all onboarded technically to know the same branding that we're constantly making consistent on the page. And like along with that, with marketing, there's micro commenting, which a lot of people are like, what is that? Because when I told Maria this, she's like, I don't know what that is. Eleni's like, no clue, never heard of it. And I only learned it because I worked in a PR agency. I didn't know what it was before I started working there. So we're all teaching each other things constantly, I think. And
what is it?
Micro commenting, yeah. So micro comment is basically when you have a brand account, we'll use like Budweiser, for example.
Sure.
You want the person who controls Budweiser's social media will want to comment on other people's brand posts. So like Station Cold Brew's post or like Flow Water, for example, they'll comment on there so that their name is under that post. So what we do is we follow a lot of different like clothing accounts, alcohol accounts, just general wellness, health kind of accounts, food accounts, and we'll get our intern.
That's really smart.
Yeah, to comment on their posts.
Yeah.
Daily. She does like 2 hours a day and say something that we're all aligned with branding. Like, we love this idea. Like, think about our podcast. It's so fun and like we're just kind of shooting the shit, having a good time. Like, we say we love that. Or like, oh, that's amazing. You look fire. Stuff like that. She'll be commenting, but it's coming from the brand. It's not coming from me personally or Maria personally. It's coming from the brand as a whole. So when people see our name on the bottom of the post, they're like, what is this? Click, boost engagement to our page, and then we gain more followers that way as well. It's a huge marketing tactic that people don't really think about.
Yeah. You know what it makes me think about is being like the third thing on a Google page, right? Like you read through because once they're done with the post, you kind of do the scroll and you see the stuff right underneath.
Exactly.
If it's like, so I can totally get it. If they're looking for a Toronto-based podcast, or if they're doing something along the lines of anything you're related to, and you guys say, hey, like we're in on that, and they're like, oh, who loves that? And they tap it and they want to find out, and now all of a sudden they're on your page.
Yeah, exactly. That's like
cool. So what was the story regarding micro blogging or micro commenting?
The story with it?
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off to hear what.
No, okay. No. I'm just saying that like a lot of people don't know what that is, and like it's a really important thing in marketing that I didn't even realize and how important it was until I started working at my PR agency. So like it's one of those things that people don't and brands don't really utilize enough, I feel like, but it's growing more and more so, and we're always trying to micro comment.
So
sometimes we'll do it ourselves if we're like see something we love, we'll just comment on it.
100%. And I totally get why you would do that. And that's a strategy that I like. This is where I get not like maybe annoyed. I get frustrated because you could go your whole life trying to get attention online and not have the It's Literally Fine duo. And you don't hear about that and you never do it. And then you don't get the results, right? Like there's so many tactics that are just like, how do you find this stuff? Is there anywhere should someone take a marketing course? Like, should we all just try to work for a PR company? Like,
I would say like, I would say that you can take marketing and PR courses. Like literally you can find them on Google and like take them at different universities anywhere in the world, especially now with COVID, everything's online. So you can just pay for a course and they'll teach you all that stuff. The thing is I didn't learn that in school because we didn't go to school for that. I learned that at my job. So I just had the privilege of learning that from my superiors at my job and just carrying it along with me.
I've always felt like getting paid to learn the task is better than paying if you're in that position, it's 100% better.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that. So did you guys make any like plans of this is what I want our brand to be? Or was it like, hey, we both love this color, like we love pink and so that just started that? Like how was that a decision or was that coincidence and then we go with it? And
how did we start that? Honestly, like we were talking one day, and I remember we were on FaceTime, and Evan and I are always on FaceTime, at least like 7 times a day.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and I was like, "Okay, what about?" So you're talking about color schemes, and you were throwing colors at each other.
Yeah.
You were like, well, "What about this? What about this?" I was like, "Okay, I think pastels." And she's like, "Okay, pastels." And then we ended up narrowing down these colors. We both did really like these colors, and we were like, you know what, like. We didn't want something too bold. We didn't want something too like
not
calm. Like so we ended up going on the colors, and then we really just honed in on the fact that we were like positivity, owning yourself, owning your opinions, owning who you are. So in the first season, we used a lot of quotes that reflected how you were feeling that week or anything that resonated with women empowerment and just us being women in the industry, women in media, really just like going for it. And like, we kept along those things and we just really started to use those outlets, and then our brand ended up molding into what it is.
And I think a lot of people actually might not know this, but Maria and I actually created a magazine in university from we were like the CEO, like founders of this magazine all about women in sports. And it's actually extremely ironic because I was looking at the cover of our magazine and the colors are pastel.
Yeah.
So it's really weird how that happened, but it's almost like we've known our brand this entire time.
Yeah, that's interesting. You had a sports magazine in school.
Yeah.
So you guys have really been collaborating for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Every project, Evan and I would be in class and then be like, you're doing something together and be like, And everyone just it was like,
Yeah.
Marina, yeah, they're doing it together. And
Yeah, don't worry about it. That's right.
Group projects, somehow still the same group of other people. It was always like us two together, and like we just knew how to work together. And trust me, like this, we did the magazine and working together. Obviously, you learn a lot of things, but like our relationship has like pivoted to like another level because like as friends, you're friends, but as business partners, your relationship just grows to another level.
Yeah.
Like you really learn how to work with one another and be who you are with each other.
100%. And like the hardest thing for me, like I have a few ventures and communicating when it's not good news, but saying it with like the trust fall that, okay, I have to say shitty things right now, but I'm hoping that you love me and I love you and we can get through that shitty thing together. That's hard to do.
We know that. And like, there's been days where like those conversations did not come easy. There was days where the conversation went nowhere, but you like, it's not like if you're fooling yourself if you think that at the beginning of a business partnership or at the beginning of launching something, everything's going to be easy and you guys aren't going to fight. You're not going to go through freaking bad news, things not working out, all those different things, because you need to get through those things to get to the top.
Yeah.
100%.
But what's amazing is that Em and I have been able to get through those things and really still like come out better and better and better each and every time.
Yeah. It's true.
And like you begin to almost like understand each other better as friends through the business because you start to really see how you operate on a day-to-day life without certain things.
Yeah.
So it's hard to navigate those conversations, but eventually when you have a good business partner beside you, you'll learn how to get through them. Yeah.
I'm so happy you guys fist bumped for that. Yeah, that was really well said, Maria. That was great. Yeah, and it matters so much to have the people around you. And one thing that I talk about and I say to artists, like a lot of artists, you know, they don't want to do the nitty gritty, like the paperwork and stuff, but they get caught up in their head. It's so easy to do. I did this for a long time where you feel like everybody feels about that like you do, instead of realizing that there are people who actually would way not want to do what you want to do and would way rather do the detail thing. So having two completely different minds, then it's cool, because once you realize what you both like and don't like, it's like, and I'm not doing none of that shit. That's for the other person. But then when it's something you want to do, you do it and the other person doesn't have to, and they can say the same thing the other way. That's interesting. So you guys have been working together for, like you said, 8 years, like working on stuff together.
Yeah, and like just like you said just now, like Em and I have like very like our minds are our minds are very different. Like we think very differently, but it benefits us. Like I'm very like media editing, software, like camera focused, and like Em obviously does it as well, but we would not be where we are if it wasn't for Em's marketing. And the editing would not have happened if it wasn't for my editing. So like, it's very like our paths have now like swooped over each other, and now like we've almost taught each other, and now it's like we got a good balance.
And I think the good thing about Maria and I is like we recognize that each of us is good at one or the other. You know what I mean? So like I'm well aware that when we film our monthly muck like food series, I'm like, well, have a great time editing that. I will not be touching that. I do not know how to edit, and I know that. And she's very good at editing, so I know it's gonna be done well. And then if it's social, she'll be like, can you post this? You'll make it look better. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like she's well aware that like that's what I do for work. So it's like, and she does hers for work. You know what I mean? So like we kind of use and we have our own things that we recognize or we are good at or not good at. You know what I mean?
And the key is like knowing when to like understand each other's feedback too. Yeah. So like if there's a post that like I remember like I tried to post a story like early on in like the first season, and I was like, Maria, like that does not look good. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like I know how to post stories, but like I'm trying to make it look all damn cute, and you know like the color schemes. And I was like, oh my god, she's like, Maria, she showed me the way. So I took the feedback, and then you move on.
But it's funny because now she'll post stories and they look so much better. I'll respond and be like, this is an amazing story. You should document.
I'm like, thanks, Mom. Thanks.
Yeah, that's cool, and I can see that there's like a sisterly love there, and there's a lot of respect for one another and for the strengths, and it's nice. Like it's no one wants to hear that they could have done something better. Like no one ever wants to hear that, but you actually need to hear that.
Yeah.
Like that for musicians, oh my goodness, that's a humongous, like people will not, I'm gonna release it later after it's a perfect song. Like, motherfucker, it's never gonna be a perfect song. So you
I
gotta,
don't know if you know, but Evan and I both sing.
do you?
Yeah.
Kick
So
ass.
we both have like music backgrounds. Like Em sang up until how old were you?
I was pretty old, grade 12.
Yeah. And I sang, I went to an art school for singing.
Wow.
So we both know how it is to get told.
And then you ended up in media at Ryerson.
Yeah, it's an attention thing. We like attention.
Yeah.
So like clearly we went down that route.
Well, it's
working.
Instead of people telling us like, oh, you're amazing at singing, you're the next Miley Cyrus, they're like, oh, you're amazing at podcasting, you're the next Alexandra Cooper. We're like, thank you. That's what we like to hear.
Well, look, I really love that. And you seem to obviously be building an audience. Have you done any polls that have surprised you? Have you been like, ooh, or like gotten any crazy feedback? Like, have you gone?
So we did one on cheating.
Yeah.
Oh, rough.
And we had some interesting people out themselves. And
yes.
Like, whoa, like
very interesting.
Amazing. Like, we saw the ratio of how many people have cheated or have been cheated on. We were shocked.
Yeah. Especially because we knew a lot of them. We're like, oh shit, we didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay. What was the ratio?
I think
it was like cheated on was definitely higher than cheated. It was like 60%
or something.
Yeah, cheated on. The rest was
60% of people have been cheated on.
Yeah.
Holy crap. So there's like this smaller group of just total assholes that we've all dated and we've all just been.
Well, I just thought it was more funny that they were like willing to put themselves out. I literally was like, I don't know if I would answer my own poll.
Like, you know what? Like, I mean, props to them.
Yeah.
She just went for it.
Yeah.
But I feel like listen, like if there's a poll and you're cheating on someone and you haven't been caught yet, you're not gonna like check that, you know.
Very fair.
Maybe that explains why the number is low. That's really funny that we're talking about that. That was the first bit of gossip I think that's ever happened on Drivewire Radio, but that was
it would be us too.
That was juicy. I'm sure we can catch a lot more of that at the It's Literally Fine podcast.
Oh yeah.
Where do you the podcast people can find it like just totally everywhere or?
Yeah, we're on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Is like the second season's on YouTube for a video component. But yeah, we're basically we try to be everywhere. Yeah, try our best.
I like the idea of segments. I've been thinking about that for this show because what it's been is like, although they're incredibly useful, it's been like these collections of conversations with people. But you mentioned having a monthly food episode.
Yes.
So how did you come across the idea for that as a monthly thing? Did you guys just love eating? You're like, let's put a camera on it.
Yes.
Really?
That is exactly the answer.
All right, cool.
We were sitting one day or like on FaceTime, we're just chatting. Like, I think we're usually eating when we FaceTime. And I think that's maybe we're like, oh, what are you eating today? Or like, what are you eating? Whatever.
Someone's always eating.
So we were like, wouldn't it be kind of cool because the pandemic's kind of screwed over so many local restaurants and businesses, as we know, and it's very sad. We're like, why don't we highlight a couple local Toronto restaurants? Like, it's too hard to maintain every week, but we're like, let's do one a month and see how this goes. And we released the first one last week, which Maria edited all of it. Props to her. But yeah, we released the first one and we're like, let's see how this goes. And it was a local bakery and we have a couple more lined up right now. I think 2 months secured worth of monthly bucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, just because we love food.
Literally. And obviously, like if you watch the video, we literally say, oh my God, 100 times when we're eating just because we're that excited.
Yeah.
So like, it's just like, we love it. And you know what, for us to be able to like put local restaurants and businesses out there a bit more, it like, we love it.
That's what we
want to support everybody. Like, we're not even in this to like make another video for ourselves. We're in it to like spread awareness for local businesses.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing for us is we've realized like friends help friends. You know what I mean? Like we want to support as many local businesses as we can, or our friends' brands, or whatever it might be, because they're supporting us.
Yeah.
And so like we see that trade-off, and we're appreciative of everyone who supports us. And because we started from like nothing to like 700 followers, which is not a lot, but it's a lot more than it used to be. You know what I mean? And like our downloads have increased.
It's
our
growing.
Increased,
It's
right? Like
growing.
we know the importance of like helping each other out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
No, it matters so much, and I really like that. And you're doing a good thing for the community, and if you're excited, like people connect to that excitement, man. Like when you're like, I know it from being on stage, and I've had shows where I'm, you play every note exactly right, but then you're not quite into it, and then you have other shows where you're super into it and you fudge a couple notes. That second time, people like that way more than if you're just timidly hitting every note. Like, it's the craziest thing. What's your guys' favorite part of doing a podcast? I have 2 more questions.
What's our favorite thing? Kind of, I think just being
it's
able to
hard
talk.
question,
Okay,
yeah.
we're both very opinionated people. I think that's very evident.
Okay.
So to be honest, as much as we love like telling our opinions to each other, I think the most fun for us is like we get to hang out and tell our opinions on things, and we're like, hey, you don't have to take our advice or listen to us. We're not always right, but this is how we feel. And if you like it, that's great. If you don't, oh well. You know what I mean? Like we're very like aware that we're very outgoing and very to the point people sometimes can be a little savage, and we know that. That's actually
love that so much. People need it, man. It's a bubble wrap world, and when someone's willing to speak their mind, people listen to that.
Yeah, and
I think the other thing too is like what we love the most about it is like the help and like the entertainment we're giving to people who we have no idea that actually needed it or just love to listen to us. Like we love to see and like hear from our viewers like, oh my God, guys, you made my week this week. Or I've been struggling with that issue. You guys made me laugh. Thank you so much. Like that is what we love the most about it. We do it for the people who watch and listen.
Because I think that, and we talk about this a lot, and we actually talk about this in our upcoming episode, is a lot of people tell us that like, oh, you guys are goals, you guys are so confident, this and that and the other. And it's like, that's what social media shows you. And like, I think we really like thrive around the fact that we just want to be real with people. Like, this is what we're doing. This is our friendship. Sometimes we get in brawls. Like we were in a little like argument like a couple episodes ago, and we're like, leave it in. It's real and it's raw and it happens. Like this is life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like our conversations are always so open to like, please tell us if you're feeling the same way or like need help with something. And we get a lot of great feedback about that. Like we get a lot of great feedback from people being like, we really appreciate you guys talking about this. You would never think you guys would be the ones to feel this way. And we just appreciate it. Like the messages like that are what are
it's what we love, and it's what helps us keep going.
Yeah, I can 100% resonate to that. I've had a few artists reach out, and I have a thing where I don't look at I don't look. My team like updates me, but they're like, we got this many views and we have this and this. I don't look ever, right? I'm the voice. I like connecting with people. I'll do that. I'll help them make decisions, but in terms of the details, my brain shuts down. But like what I do look at is the messages, because I love people and then the connection. When I get a message from someone who's like, hey, I heard this show and we got a snippet of information, we use that for our band or for our show or for our, like, I love that. Or like, I stole this information from your show, which I love to hear. And I actually used it to, land a gig or like make my gig better or all of these things. Like the best. It's just out of the blue, you get this message and you read it and you feel like you're the Grinch on that Christmas where your heart like grows like 3 sizes this day or whatever. Like that feels good.
Yeah, no, we love people too. I think we just love connecting with people.
We do.
And like,
we really do.
We didn't have guests first season. Obviously, we were in the middle of like, which we still are technically, but we were in the middle of the pandemic, didn't know how to go about it. We were also doing episodes right here in my kitchen.
Right here.
So it wasn't really ideal to be having guests coming in here. I guess we could have done Zoom. We tried Zooms.
Didn't know.
But the audio for us and our like on our ends, maybe our computers or our earphones, whatever.
Yeah, we took a hit on the audio quality 100% to do Zoom things. Yeah. But one thing that is interesting with this technology is like I get to interview people from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Like we thought Zoom was going to be a huge downstep, but then But then we realized, like last week I interviewed Ziggy Alberts and he was in Australia. And that was cool. And we've interviewed some people who are like rap artists down in the Caribbean and like from St. Lucia, and it's pissed you off because it's freaking winter outside and there's palm trees and blue skies, and they're like, you know, smoking a stogie, like, oh, it's beautiful out here. Like, fuck.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So the connection is cool, but the audio quality. How many listeners are you getting if your audio quality is not good, right?
Yeah, and we're both perfectionists, so I think that was one thing we're like, we're just gonna do studio stuff instead. That was just like all through. Mm-hmm. We also have access, right? Like if we didn't have access to a studio, we would probably reevaluated that. But we thankfully have friends that work at Neighborhood Creative Co. that help us out and give us a studio to do our podcast in. So thank you to them, basically. Big help, because they're the ones that have helped us out. Yeah. So friends helping friends.
Friends helping friends. I really like that. And I can see why it's starting to take off. And also, like, look, nothing ever happens overnight. I don't know who it was. I got to find this out. I watched this lady. She accepted an award for her band, which was Best Overnight Artist. And she was kind of, you could tell she was angry when she received the award. And her acceptance speech was so the award is Best Overnight Artist. And it was like, we worked for 10 years for this Best Overnight Award. Right? So, but that's what you guys did. You've been putting in the collaborative effort for 8 years and it's starting to pay off now, which I love. Okay, here we go. This is the last question. So this is always my favorite question. It's a stumper. Don't talk. Different answer from both of you unless it's the same answer, okay? Okay. There's no pressure. There is no pressure.
I'm going first.
Aside from like the talking on the show, what do you think the skill that has helped you the most, aside from like the main skill? So usually if it's like a guitarist, I'm like, okay, you can't say your music.
Right.
So maybe aside from PR and what we talked about, what would you say the number one thing that's helped you guys to get where you are is?
Okay. Can I got yours? Yeah. Okay. So mine's okay. I'm gonna kind of change this. So mine's not a skill. Listen, hear me out. My
classic podcast. I'm gonna change this around a little bit.
Right on as it's coming out.
Yeah. Mine's not a skill, but I think it's who we are. I don't think our podcast would be where it is on the way up if it wasn't for the raw, like unedited, uncut versions of ourselves. I think if we weren't who we truly were and we weren't as real as we were and didn't show our personalities when we are to each other and on camera, I don't think we'd be where we are today. So I think people love to see the realness, and I think that's what is.
Well, I think we show a lot of different sides of us, and a lot of people, like we've had a lot of stereotypes in the past, like party girls. In school, we were the Barbies because we're too.
I was blonde.
She was blonde at the time, but like that, we have a lot of stereotypes. Like they're not smart, they're dumb. You know what I mean? Like I think that like for us, like it's about breaking a barrier. Like not every girl wants to be on air. There's girls that want to do PR and do marketing and do this and that, and we are open to like sharing with people the struggles we have with all of different aspects of life, from mental health to friendship to dating to working in the industry. I think it's the Maria's right, the completely like raw versions of us that we just decide to share with the world. Like not everyone can do it, and we understand that, and we're very
it's scary. It's actually scary, and I'll give it to you. I think that is a skill, that authenticity. Like even right now, like although I'm speaking to two people across this platform, like the reality is I'm sitting in front of a like laptop and I have this like my guitar's behind me. Like that's. So it's weird, and there's a skill, and to come across even without a like video and just across a microphone, to have your attitude and your personality, and to quite frankly and just succinctly said, not give a flying F what anyone thinks. Yeah. That is really, really hard. Like before my musical life, I studied U of T. I studied some neuroscience, and there's a ticker in your head that like studies your social rank compared to everyone else. And everyone, no matter what they say, everyone cares about what other people think. So so for your audience, it's not that you guys don't care what you think. You're just willing to accept the consequences of them thinking that.
Like
and that's
we know
brave.
we're opening ourselves up for judgment. Like we know that. We know we open ourselves up, people will be like, I don't agree, that's incorrect, or you're wrong. Okay, that's your opinion. Here's ours. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
aware of that. And I think that's a really big, I think that's a skill set in itself. It's just like
it is
being aware of your surroundings and what kind of things you're saying and how people can like take them and what people think about them, and not take negative comments to heart. Big thing as well.
Right. And there's a lot of like, it's very interesting that you say that because when it comes to a lot of, oh man, it's so hard to say this. When it comes to a lot of millennials politics right now, there are certain things that you cannot say. Yeah. But those things that you can't say might be someone's genuine opinion. And when you, right. And so that's the thing. And like, I'm fully on the side of free speech and supporting what you, and the way that you say it. And you just have to like take the lumps, like, you know, especially if you say something and you mean it this way, but it could sound like another way and you didn't connect it, but that person's head connects it. Yeah. Like there's a lot of turmoil right now in how sensitive and eggshells you have to be. But when someone doesn't, sometimes it's just refreshing.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Seriously, right? That's good. It's good. I love it. Thank you for being.
My skill was adaptability, but
adaptability is
like being able to adapt to like things on the move. Like we're constantly changing and like changing our social and our guests and really strategically thinking. And I think that's a huge part of it personally. So.
Kick-ass strategic thinking and adaptability. That's a very good answer. The most popular answer to that has been networking. A lot of the people specifically as artists, they say, man, you got to just know the people. Like you do a gig.
I mean, in that sense, like I can agree.
Yeah.
But because like podcasting, you're in such your own like bubble.
You are. No, for you guys, I liked your answers. For you guys, I liked your answers.
I don't even think for us, and like this is not to put us on a certain end of like a spectrum. Network isn't a skill for us. That's who we are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like we've always been social butterflies. We've always been making new friends, meeting people out. Like a lot of our network has come from where we've worked. Before COVID, going out to the bar, you meet 10 people, you connect with them. Yeah. So-and-so works at a marketing agency, so-and-so works at an alcohol agency. You connect them all. I think that's not a skill for us anymore. It's just kind of the way of life that we go towards.
Habits. Yeah, and those habits, like they serve. And that's something that I'm focusing on is how can I build habits so getting better is automatic. That's really what I'm looking at, but you gotta be there through the reps, right? You gotta build. It's tricky. When you start building good habits, you realize how many shitty habits that you have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the first step is being like, okay, I gotta clean.
I gotta stop this.
Right. Or start this, lifting weights and moving stuff around. Guys, this has been a really cool conversation. I wasn't sure if I would have enough questions to fill the hour just because there's so much not overlap between what we have, but I think we found the middle ground. I think we got there.
We did.
You're also talking to two people that literally could talk and talk and talk and talk.
So my favorite episode.
For another hour, to be honest.
Some episodes are like pulling teeth, like really difficult. And so, how long you been doing this? 11 years. This is not exactly radio content, you know what I
mean? So fair. We know that struggle though too. I think that's part of it. We know the struggle of pulling teeth, so we get it.
Are you guys having a guest on every show, or sometimes it's just the two yous and just?
How many guests we have? Like what, 5 for this year?
No, more than that, like 7 or 8.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we've got 7 or 8 lined up. We've had 2 so far. We've had 3 so far. And then the rest we kind of just sprinkle them in, like salt man.
We like to like even them in between like a few of us, one. A few of us, one. That way, like our listeners are getting consistency and like this balance.
Yeah, like you just never know. Like we like the element of surprise, I think, and you just never know what you're gonna get. Because one week we're talking about being in a booth at the club, and then the next we're talking about our like traveling to New York. Like it's just like it's one or the other, and you
totally
just never know.
Whatever you want. And that's why it's your podcast, right? You can do whatever you want. That's one of the cool things, and I like that. From what I'm gathering, there's a lot of structure, but there's a huge amount of variation on top of that structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta have structure, but like you gotta have a structure you can like move around a little bit, you know?
That's right. That's right. So that's the balance here. I'm learning a lot partnering with Dom and Fran, and both of those guys, although they're creative, they're very like detail and process oriented. So it drives them crazy when they call me at 10 a.m. this morning. They're like, hey, you ready for the podcast? I'm like, oh yeah, let me look that. Cause I'm just so free-willed and spirit and like, but when we connect and we do stuff and we're each in our comfort zone, like they would never be on the screen with you right now, but I would never be making all the calls and messages to line people up for the right date. So yeah, you gotta be in your comfort zone and know what you're looking for. And if you can put people in the stuff that you don't want to do, it's better, man. Like, fuck, I get why an artist has a manager and a call and a booking agent and all this.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time. We're like, hopefully one day we can hire a team.
And then we just show up.
Just show up. And that's it. Yeah.
Somebody said it really well. Whenever you're building a business, and this, make no mistake, is totally a business. It's like you're at first your job is everything, and your goal is to fire yourself as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Like the first thing I'm bad at that I don't want to do and someone else could do better and make my life easier, as soon as I have that 10 or 15 bucks an hour, like, here you go, you do this and I'm off to these things. Yeah, it's super beneficial. And at first, maybe you gotta coerce them, right? Like you give the lawyers free airtime, and you give it's some good value. They get good value and you get good value. It doesn't have to be dollars.
Very true.
Thank you for joining me, guys. I learned a ton, actually. I really liked, micro commenting. That's what it's called? Micro commenting. Super, super smart. You will see Drivewire start doing that. And specifically like the polls, I like that idea. Listen, if we ever get the opportunity, I would love to have you in the actual studio whenever that opens. I don't know if COVID's ever going away, if it's here forever. I have no idea. I don't control that.
Yeah, we get that.
But I would love to connect sometime, and maybe we even get on your show. I'll drag one of the producers, Dom and Fran, on and make them extra uncomfortable.
It was so nice to chat with you.
Yeah, so nice.
It was a super pleasure. As soon as everything comes out online, we'll tag you in it in a million different ways so you can't miss it, okay?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Have a good one and stay safe, all right?
You too. Bye. Bye.